Hello, Rob McNeilly here again. And I want to say some things today about how we can make a very respectful and easy invitation for people to become absorbed in an experience that we're going to call hypnosis. So, if we can start with the observation that what we are calling hypnosis is an experience where there's focus, where there's absorption, and that we are mutually agreed on as hypnosis. In that way, we're just being clear that there's no such thing as hypnosis. It's not measurable. It's just something that we use to describe something. So if we can begin with that description of an experience with focus and absorption that we're going to call hypnosis, then any experience that anyone has can be an invitation into hypnosis simply by offering someone the idea that whatever's happening, they can become focused on it, absorbed in it, and then we can make some comments to ratify the changes that we're going to call hypnosis. So, for example, we could ask someone who was interested to learn just the experience of going into hypnosis, not necessarily for any therapeutic benefit, but just to have the experience of hypnosis. We could ask someone if they would be willing to continue doing what they're doing. If we ask someone to continue doing something that they're doing, there's no question about can they do it because they're already doing it. So by asking someone if they'd be willing to continue doing what they're doing, whatever that is, that may be looking at us or looking at the floor or looking out the window or looking at something on the wall or closing their eyes and enjoying some memory, whatever it is. If we invite someone to do just that, to continue doing what they're doing, and then invite them to begin to focus on some aspect of that, some part of that experience that they are having as a function of them. We can invite them to do that. And then invite them to, as a natural consequence of any experience of focusing, to let themselves become more absorbed in that experience. And then when anyone begins to focus on something and allow themselves to become more absorbed in it, there are some physiological changes that seem to happen just naturally, without effort, without any intention. They just happen when someone gets focused and absorbed. And if we look and we see these changes, we can articulate them, and that helps to ratify the changes that are happening and tends to encourage them. So, for example, if someone is going along with our invitation, if they're interested, they're willing, and they start to focus on something, whatever that is, get absorbed in that, in whatever way they are, and then if we look, we will see usually a change in their breathing. Usually the breathing is just a little slower and a little deeper. And if we comment on that, then that makes it apparent, helps to let the client know something's happening, and it tends to allow an increase in the absorption. If we notice that their facial muscles are smoothing out, very often when someone gets focused and absorbed, instead of their face being like this, there's a kind of a smoothing out, a flattening out. We can mention that. Very often there's a change in the blinking. Even if someone doesn't close their eyes, and why should they, by the way, unless they want to. Very often there's a change in the blinking, so that the blinking tends to be less frequent. It tends to be, sometimes there's like a pause when the eyes blink down before they open up again. So we can comment on that. Your blinking is slowed down. Very often when someone gets focused and absorbed, they become relatively immobile in their chair. Kids don't, of course. Kids move around like silly things, but that's what they do. But adults normally, when they're in this experience, there's a lot of stillness in their body, a little bit of movement sometimes, but relatively little. So we can comment and say, your body is less mobile than it was. Of course, you could move if you wanted to, but for the moment, it looks like it's happy to just be comfortably still. And by making these comments, that helps to let the client know that something is happening, and they are then invited to have a kind of an extension of what would happen to anyone at any time, but in particular, an extension of their experience, which we are now calling hypnosis. So if you're interested to try that yourself, you'd be welcome. And it could be helpful to even try that with your clients if that's of interest to you. It can't do any harm. And if you're doing it with your clients, it might be nice when they get into that focused, absorbed state and you commented about their breathing and so on. If you ask them to notice something pleasant, something that might be useful for them, and pretty routinely, you can expect that someone will find something useful, something they'll like, something that's going to be beneficial. Anyhow, some comments about that, and the invitation to play with it, see what you make of it, and of course it'd be nice if you could leave a comment, be in touch, and just let me know what you've learned. So thanks for being part of this again.